welcome to the Race Asylum YouTube channel. What's up guys, I'm Chris Doughty, aka Doubtinator. If you are new to the channel, consider subscribing, hit that like button if you find this video useful. Let's get straight into this one. Which is the right racing sim on console for you? ACC, Assetto Corsa Competizione, or Gran Turismo Sport? We're going to break them down into a number of different areas, compare them, contrast them, and we'll get to a final outcome at the end of the video. First up, we're going to talk about equipment. What equipment do you need to be successful, enjoy each of the two titles? Now, GT Sport is really quite well optimized for controller on PS4. You can play ACC with a controller, but the level of assist on the controller isn't quite there. So in my opinion, for ACC to be fully immersive, you are going to need some kind of steering wheel, some kind of force feedback steering wheel to get the most out of ACC. But for GT Sport, I've never come across a game that is more suited to controller than GT Sport. You can be just as fast with controller as you can with the steering wheel. It's also really good on steering wheel too. The balance between controller and steering wheel is second to none for GT Sport. The downside with controller in GT Sport is tyre wear is a little higher, but there are many controller players who are very competitive in GT Sport. Next, we're going to talk about the single player experience in GT Sport and ACC. So GT Sport, the AI that you race against, they aren't that good. But GT Sport is much more than just a GT racing simulation. You have lots of different car types, lots of different cars available. So the variety is there for just single player driving. With ACC, it's very focused on GT3 cars. But the AI, the racing is really good in single player in ACC. I've got to say that when you're battling with the AI drivers in single player ACC, you really do get that feeling of close racing. The AI, you can adjust the difficulty level to suit your own driving standards, and the single player racing experience in ACC is fantastic. You have those longer races where you are constantly battling with other AI drivers, and it does feel fantastic. So in my opinion, if you want longer races with good door-to-door battle with AI players, ACC gets it. If you want the variety of driving lots of different cars and lots of different tracks, then maybe this one goes to GT Sport. Now we're going to talk about multiplayer experience. GT Sport has one of the most awesome multiplayer experiences when it comes to going door-to-door battling with competitors. It has a fantastic daily racing system, so you'll always find drivers of a matching skill level to yourself to go racing with. There is no shortage of fantastic racing. The driving physics lends itself to drivers going to more door-to-door. You can get side by side with the drivers, you can block pass, so that could be a bit of a negative about the way GT Sport handles its online, but it really is a fantastic experience. The depth of field of the players is second to none. For ACC, it's a little harder to get more quality racing, but the actual multiplayer racing, you often find yourself, it's more about your own race relative to other people's racing. It's less about the door-to-door. Just the driving physics mean that you've got a lot more work to do to keep your own car on the track, and you are most often racing your own race with other drivers on the track rather than looking to go side by side and door-to-door with other drivers. It's a very different experience. If you can find good racing, then ACC is fantastic, but the depth of players in the multiplayer racing, it's just not there for ACC. GT Sport gets it hands down for door-to-door battling. However, we at Race Asylum are looking to make changes in this area specifically for console ACC. We want to host more lobby races, so you're racing with drivers there'll be less of these turn one chaos incidents which can happen in the public lobbies. So join the Race Asylum Discord. The link will be in the description below, and keep a lookout for in the ACC channel for lobby races. We're going to try and host our ACC Race Asylum server, and then we'll host some specific lobby events in this server. Now let's talk about driving feel. So the difference between GT Sport and ACC with regard to the way the car feels to control the car. GT Sport, it does have a level of simplification to it. It's more process based. So you have an exact braking point, you have an exact turning point, you have an exact clipping point, a throttle point. It's more simple to drive, which means you can focus on racing to a certain degree. The driving of the cars in GT Sport, it is more simple in my opinion. But within GT Sport, you also have a much broader selection of cars, and then you have a really wide driving feel between all the cars, from the N100 slow cars like the classic Mini right up to the Group 1 Le Mans LMP cars, the Group X cars, the Red Bull cars. So although the driving model is a little bit more simplified in GT Sport, you do have a huge variety of cars you can go driving with. Now on to ACC, and the driving feel, it's definitely more of a feeling. It's certainly a lot less process driven than the way GT Sport is, as we can see with the on-screen footage. This was during a wet qualifying session in one of the Race Asylum test lobbies, and I'm fighting the car. I don't know the braking points. The tracks become wet, the track evolves. You always have to kind of guess and assume the track conditions, what the braking points will be. The tyres change throughout the course of the race. You definitely have to feel the way the car drives rather than just hit an exact braking point every single lap. And I really do like the driving feel of ACC. There's a lot more you have to do to get the car around the track in ACC than you do in GT Sport. GT Sport is very process driven, whereas ACC, it's all about the feel. You've got to feel the way the car slides. And if I was to choose my favourite sim to just do hot lapping in, I would choose ACC every time. However, that difficulty and that feeling, it does mean that you're constantly looking after your car in the races, and it's difficult to go and think about racing other drivers, whereas GT Sport's simplified driving feel gives you that confidence to go and throw a move down the inside and go door to door with your opponents. So yeah, those are the differences that I see. Next up, so which one of these is a simulation? I'm going to say both of them are simulations. They both simulate racing, they both simulate driving. Now, the difference I'm going to make here is that I believe that GT Sport is the best racing simulator. Now, what I mean by that is that the art of racing is going door to door with the 20 other drivers on the track in multiplayer specifically. Everyone's driving that slightly simplified physics model, which allows them to concentrate on racing each other. You don't get any better door-to-door racing. It's such a spectacle in GT Sport. It really is absolutely superb. But what I'm going to say is that ACC is the best motorsport simulation, because within ACC, there's no fixed setup. So you've got to work on your setup. You've got to work on your tyre temperatures. You've got to take some fuel out the car for qualifying. You've got to use the right amount of fuel to get you to the end of the race in the races. And you are driving the car, fighting with the car throughout the whole race, managing your tyre temperatures, thinking about how to position your car, whether to push to try and catch the driver ahead. And when you are going for a move on other drivers in ACC, the car contact physics is brutal. So any impact, any crash is likely going to take both drivers out of the race. So it's got that true motorsports feeling. Hopefully you already have in your own mind which one you're starting to favour, but we're going to go through some summary points. If you have enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and hit that bell icon to be notified whenever we launch any new videos. So in summary, I'm going to say, first of all, if you've got a controller, I think it's going to have to be no-brainer towards GT Sport. The way GT Sport works with a controller is second to none. It really is incredible. Controller and wheel, they pretty much race on a level playing field. Hands down, GT Sport if you're a controller sofa player. If you do want an accurate driving model and you do have a wheel, a force feedback wheel, or you are looking to get a suitable force feedback wheel and you want that true motorsport simulation, then I think ACC is for you. Certainly if you're happy playing single player against AI, and you also, if you've got a standard PS4, I'm not sure the frame rate is particularly good on a standard PS4. I play on a PS4 Pro and ACC runs okay now after its recent updates, and I believe on the PS5 it runs even better than that. So that is something to consider. Graphics wise, let's talk about that. I think GT Sport has it on the graphics. ACC, it does look like a PC simulator, whereas GT Sport, it looks like a really polished AAA title. It really does look fantastic. On the multiplayer side of things, GT Sport has the most superb just public multiplayer system. Their daily race system, their FIA races, their Nations Cup races, lots of players take part. You'll always find yourself ranked against similar skill level players. It really is fantastic. For ACC, you need to try a lot harder to find good multiplayer races. You most often need to join some kind of league or some specifically set up events. Public multiplayer racing in ACC, it just doesn't have the depth of field. And then once you are in there, it could be a massive skill spread. You could be someone who is new to the game, driven for just 2 weeks, and you could have the fastest player in ACC just join that lobby. It doesn't have any skill-based matchmaking. Hopefully you now have a clear idea of which sim title is best for you. Let us all know in the comments below which one you favour. If there are any points you think we've missed in this video, please add them to the comments below. Comments, interaction with the community, that's what we're all about at Race Asylum. So we look forward to hearing from you. If you haven't hit the like button already and you do think it's worthwhile from this video, hit that like button, consider subscribing, and we'll catch you in the next one.